All right, I started selling Pokemon cards as a business almost 12 months ago. And in that time, I've sold almost $500,000 worth of cards through live streaming, private deals, and vending at card shows.
Max is ripping some packs like a degenerate.
And today I'm going to be telling you everything that I've learned along the way and how we're approaching things moving into 2026. Plus, I'll show you this simple formula that saved us hours every week. If you're not subscribed already, please consider hitting the button. We're so close to 20,000 subscribers, which is absolutely mental to say out loud. It has been a crazy year. But anyway, starting off with grading cards. When I first started the business back in November last year, one of the very first things I did to get some money in the business was sell off all of my personal collection. Now, I made around £800 from selling the single cards over on eBay, which at the time was amazing. It meant we could invest it into more product and really get ourselves off the ground. But I did make sure to keep back any cards that were worth considerably more money when graded. There are a bunch of cards in this space that jump massively in value when they're graded, either because they're hard to grade, there's a low population of graded cards, or they're just extremely desirable cards. So I sat down and I spent literally hours picking through each of the cards, checking the values online and seeing whether it was worth my time sending them into grade at all. And then once I had a list of the rough values, I went through each of the cards one by one under a good light and I inspected them as best I could. So I was checking for things like centering, checking each corner for lifts and whitening, and finally inspecting the surface of the card for print lines or damage. Then I packaged them all up and I shipped them off to be graded by PSA. Then after quite a long wait, they did come back, and the ones that did grade a 10 were worth so much more than the single cards, and it really set us up in the early days of our business. It gave us a ton more liquid cash to buy more stock, invest into collections, and really build up our inventory properly. And that was the moment that I realized quite how much of a cheat code grading cards really is. I have a ton of videos on the channel where I go through submission returns and I show off some of the profits that we made from sending those cards off to be graded, and pretty much every single time we make back way more money than what we spent on the raw cards and the grading fees combined. There is so much business flexibility with graded cards as well. If you buy raw cards and grade them yourself, your margins stand to be so much higher than if you just bought the graded card itself. Take this card for example. If you found a clean copy of this Charizard SIR from 151, it would likely cost you around £200 at the time of recording this video. Then to grade it, on average, that costs around £18. You're now into that card for about £218. But in a PSA 10, this card is worth upwards of £1,000. So your margin on that card is now nearly 5 times what you paid if sold at full market value. You could now be at a show and have a potential buyer approach you to buy this card and ask for a better price. Knowing already how much you spent on the card, you could lower your price by even 20%. Not saying you should do this, but you'd still be making about £600 profit before taxes on a single card. Margins like that in the Pokemon space are ridiculous. The only downside I'd say of grading is the wait times, but that's why we like to use PSA and ACE to grade. If I need liquid cards graded quickly, I'll tend to go with ACE over PSA just because I know if I get a submission slot, I can see my cards again within the same month for around £18 a card. PSA I tend to use if I don't need the card back immediately, or I have a card that is worth considerably more in a PSA 10, like this Lucario SIR from Mega Evolutions, for example. Now, there are definitely perks to using both services, and I like supporting another business that is built and run in the UK as well. Just make sure you are staggering your submissions, because you can sometimes tie up a lot of money in grading fees and cards, which you can't get it back until the cards return and you sell them too. If you do want to grade your cards with ACE, please make sure you're using my code MDP at checkout. It does get you 5% off your submission. It also gives me a small kickback when the code is used, so you'll be supporting me and the channel at the same time. If you want to secure your ACE submission spots, you're going to want to join their Discord. They typically go live between 6 and 7 p.m. most days, and they normally alert everyone by the chat in their Discord, so I will put a link to that in the description too. Right, next up is building up your social media profile. If there's one thing I've learned from building all of this, it's that your audience is absolutely everything. If you're trying to grow any kind of business in this space and you're not posting content, you are missing out on so much potential. When I first started posting, I didn't really think it was going to go anywhere. I just kind of picked up my camera and I hit record. I was showing new stock turning up, I was showing clips from our Whatnot streams, our grading returns, basically anything that I found interesting at the time, I recorded. And over time, you kind of just learn what clicks with people and what you enjoy making, because people don't just want to be sold products. They want to see the story as well. They want to follow along. They want to feel like they're part of the journey. seeing you figure it all out in real time. From the good moments where you're winning all the way through to the bad ones where you mess up and you lose money, which trust me, we did plenty of times at the start. One of the biggest things for us early on was just being as transparent as possible. I felt like there was a huge gap for that in the space, and it stops from just being some guy selling cards online and becomes someone they actually want to support, especially in this space, because I think a lot of people want to pack everything in and surround themselves with Pokemon full time, which, don't get me wrong, it sounds fun, but it's actually really stressful sometimes. That's the real difference between having customers and having a community of people. And when you've got that community, that's when everything changes. Every time you post a product, list a card, or run a stream, you're not just talking to nobody anymore. There are real people that want to support you. They want to chat to you in streams and they want to buy your cards. People following the story actually feel like they're a part of it as well. That's why for me personally, content has just changed everything for me. I have met so many people at card shows who say they watch the channel because it feels like they're living almost vicariously through us. They've always wanted a shop and they just enjoy watching the story unfold as it's happening. Then there's others who are more interested in the details, like the cost, the margins, and the business side of it all, which is why I'm making these videos. And then there's this guy who watches and just says really nice things about me like this. There are so many different angles to play with, and that's what makes it so fun. And a lot of really cool opportunities have come from posting content too. There's sponsorships, collaborations, meeting other creators that you used to watch on YouTube, all just from putting yourself out there. Probably the single most important part of it though is the security that comes with it. Now that we have got an audience, there's always something to fall back on. Like for example, if everything just decided to implode tomorrow, the Whatnot streams died out, the shop couldn't open, for example, the following is something that we can always fall back on. If we started to do something new, for example, we would have an audience to promote it to, and hopefully they'd be able to support us on that as well. And it's also just great motivation. Like once you start sharing your journey online, you don't want to let those people down. Don't get me wrong, there has been plenty of times that I've been exhausted or just not in the mood to film or stream, but knowing that there's people out there waiting to see what's next, it is such a big push. So if you have been thinking about posting, but you're waiting for everything to be perfect, honestly, just get started as soon as possible. Everything gets easier when you start making content. Next up is vending. And honestly, this is one of the best things you can do if you're running a Pokemon business. For the longest time, I overlooked vending. I just saw it as setting up a table and selling a few cards, but I didn't realize how sick it actually was until I started doing it myself. One of the biggest advantages of vending is all of the trades you get offered. It is so crazy. You've got some people at these shows who just want quick cash for their cards, so they'll sell them to you for cheap to get more cash to buy things they actually want. Then you've got others who want to trade their cards towards something they like on your table. Maybe it's a slab or a card that they've always wanted. And that's where it gets really interesting. Let's say you've got a card priced at £100, which you originally bought for £80. So you've already got your 20% margin. A customer comes up who wants that card, but they want to trade towards it. So they give you their cards that you value at 80% of their market price and you take them in. They get the card at market price. They walk away happy because they've paid less cash and got a card that they actually wanted, and you're happy because you've made your margin twice. Once on the card that you sold and again on the cards you picked up at a discount. It is such an underrated win-win situation for everyone. On top of that, vending helps you build up a reputation really quickly. If you're regularly attending shows and giving people a good buying or trading experience, they're going to start to remember you. You become the person that they want to deal with next time, and that compounds over time. Even other vendors recommend other vendors too, which is really cool. It's just about getting your reps in. The more shows you do, the more people recognize you and they come back to trade with you again. Genuinely though, vending is such a cook for picking up new stock. I'd honestly say it's the single best way to source cards if you're starting out and you don't really know what you're doing yet, because at every show there is so many people who want to sell or trade with you. And if you know your prices and you're smart with deals, you can pick up some really good cards for great prices. Sometimes I'll go to a show with a set amount of stock and somehow end up leaving with more than I came with. It's just mental, honestly. So yeah, main takeaway, don't sleep on vending. I know it's a lot of work, but it is so worth it in my opinion. Which brings me very nicely onto my next point, which I'm calling the effort equation. Just very quickly, guys, if you do want to join some of our Whatnot streams, you can join using this QR code up here and it will get you £10 free to spend on anybody on the app. You don't even have to spend it with me. Just make sure you spend it with someone. It is completely free money and I'll catch you over there. Now, there are a lot of ways to make money in the Pokemon space. There is singles, there's grading, vending, streaming. There is definitely no shortage of ways to build a business. But trust me, not everything is built equal. When we started, we pretty much said yes to almost everything that looked profitable. Basically, any kind of deal that came our way, no matter how small or how big it was, we would jump all over it. Because when you're starting out and you're new, it's so easy to think, yeah, I can make some money on that. But over time, you start to realize that not all profit is created equal. Because yeah, a deal might make you some money, but is it actually worth the time, effort, and brain space it takes to get that money out? Let's say you spend $1,000 on 500 $2 cards. You know you can list them for about $2.50 each. And when you've sold through all 500, you'll have made $1,250. So about $250 profit. But in that time, you spent hours sorting, listing, messaging buyers, shipping all the 500 cards, dealing with returns, lost post, and for what? $250. Meanwhile, your alternate universe self bought a $1,000 card at 80% of market. Then you listed it on Instagram and one of your followers kindly said, yeah, I'll take that. You just made the same amount of money from one listing, one message, and one very easy shipment. That is the effort equation. It's not just about how much you make, it's actually more about how much effort it takes to make it and how quickly you can recycle that money into the next deal. If I had to put it on screen, it would look something like this. Profit divided by time times liquidity. Profit is obvious. This is your margin. Time is how long it takes to actually sell it and get paid. And liquidity is how easy that thing is to actually move. How many buyers exist for that product? The goal is to find deals that give you the best return per unit of effort. The stuff that moves quickly, doesn't tie up cash, and doesn't eat up all of your time. Because time is your most limited resource, especially in this business. The opportunity cost is massive. You can make £200 on one big deal in a day, or £200 on 200 tiny deals over 2 weeks, but one of them is definitely going to drain your energy much faster than the other. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying go buy only expensive products. Sometimes the high-end stuff as well still takes forever to sell. What I'm saying is don't jump on everything. Find a format of selling that you actually enjoy that doesn't take too long. What that meant for us was focusing on deals that take way less effort, they move quicker, and don't tie up our money in stock. It's simple, but it completely changes how you look at buying anything. Because you've got to remember that profit isn't profit until it's sold, and if it's all sat in a pile of cards, that's all it is. It's just a pile of cards. Finally, one of the biggest things I've learned recently is something kind of like a build it and they will come mentality. In short, the customers that you attract will always reflect the type of business that you're building. If your brand revolves around low-end cards, constant giveaways, and cheap products, then that's the audience that you're going to attract. And there's also nothing wrong with that at all, but it's important to understand what you're building towards. Because if you've spent months or years even catering to people who just buy packs at £5, for example, then one day you decide that you're going to run a hidden fates break on Whatnot, for example, and you're going to go live, and all of those spots are going to go for way under what you thought they were going to go for. Not necessarily because you're doing anything wrong, but because your audience isn't used to that type of product. They came to you for one thing, and that's what you built your whole reputation around. On the other hand, if you build a business that regularly caters to high-end buyers, then selling them expensive products becomes a lot easier. Those buyers already trust you, they already understand the value of the products that they're buying, and they're expecting to spend money with you because that's the experience that they're used to getting from you. It's the same across so many sellers. Your business becomes known for the people that you serve, not just the products that you sell. If you're the guy with the cheap cards, that's who you're going to attract. If you're the high-end collector guy, that's who you're going to attract. Neither of them is wrong, but you need to be deliberate about which one that you're building. Because when you're first starting out, you're going to say yes to everything. But at a certain point, you're going to have to decide which lane you want to be in. Do you want to be known for accessibility and fun, or exclusivity and quality? Both of them work, but it's just nearly impossible to serve both of them equally as well. So if you want to attract a certain type of buyer, you need to create the kind of business that that buyer wants to engage with. That goes for your content and your brand as well. And once you build the right foundation, those customers will find you. I'm not saying you can't mix things up too, because you totally can, but just be aware of how your brand is going to be shaped over time. If you're trying to build your own Pokemon business like we are, or you just want to be around people who love the hobby as much as you do, you should definitely check out my channel memberships. Joining gets you access to my private Discord community where there's a bunch of us who are building all in the same space. It's full of people running Pokemon businesses, whatnot streams, even YouTube channels, or just collectors who love the hobby. You can ask questions, get advice, and chat with people who are at your level or are a little bit ahead of you. Inside the Discord, there is gear lists if you're setting up your own stream, there is break lists for whatnot, event info, behind the scenes shop updates, and even exclusive discounts at grailtcg.com. Plus, channel members get early access to videos, priority replies to comments, and honestly, it just helps me out a ton so I can keep making bigger and better videos for you guys. Plus, to say thanks, I'm going to be giving away this Phantasmal Flames ETB to one of the members in the Discord very soon, so it's worth joining. So yeah, if that sounds like your thing, hit the join button below this video and I'll see you in there. If you enjoyed this video and you're looking to start your own Pokemon business, you'll love this one up here explaining how to start completely from scratch. I'll catch you next time.